Hi, I'm Todd Dyer. I'm the Director of School Counseling here at Shepaug Valley School. And gathered with me today are some students to talk about virtual high school. We're in year 2 of our virtual high school program, and we're interested to hear from students about their experience and get some of their insights. On my right is Amber. Next to her is Mike. That's my left. On my right is Yana, and on her right is Christine. Students, how did you first learn about virtual high school and as an option for students at Shepaug?
I first heard about it last year when I noticed that some students had signed up for it to take some classes.
And what went into your decision to sign up for virtual high school?
I signed up for it because unfortunately this year AP or Spanish class in general couldn't be offered to seniors or students who would be at my level. So Ms. Sinus recommended that if I really wanted to continue Spanish, I try to do it that way.
Great. How about everybody else? Why don't we just go down the line? Joe?
I first heard about virtual high school when 6th period came during my planning meeting, and I took all of the classes that are available, and one class that I wanted to take was already full. So virtual high school is my option that I had, and I decided to take entrepreneurship as mine because I want to go into business as my major.
Great.
So.
Mike?
Mine was very similar to Jana. I had kind of a lot of other places to go, but I wanted to look at VHS because it's something that interests me. It offered things that the school didn't normally offer. I'm taking economics honors right now, and I think it's just something that is useful. It impacts our daily lives, so having that knowledge is important.
Excellent.
I first heard about virtual high school when I talked to Ms. Sinus this year because I was originally taking photo and then decided to switch, but I still needed a tech credit. And I have a really strong interest in international relations, and that's what I want to major in. So she offered that I take either international business and personal law, so it's a really good class, and I suggest it.
Great. Virtual high school is very different than a traditional high school class where you have a teacher in front of you, you're with other students. So we start on my right side. Christine, talk a little bit about what that experience is like. How is it different than a traditional class?
Yeah, it's really different because since you're not in the classroom having discussions with the students, you actually type your discussions. Like every week in my AP Spanish class, we have we have 3 unit questions that we answer every week, and you have to respond to 2 or 3 people, and that's kind of the engagement in the classroom.
Yeah, mine's basically the same answer as Christine, but my course actually has a lot more math in it. So it's a little bit more difficult to communicate with your teacher exactly how you do a problem if you don't understand what's going on. But I definitely think that it was a good decision.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a little bit more difficult to get in contact with the teacher, but they usually leave contact info. Mine did, so I have her personal email that I can write to, or on the VHS site itself, there's a thread called private, and you can talk with a teacher privately there. So.
And have a conversation with the teacher about your specific questions?
Yes.
Okay. Amber, how about for your experience?
I agree with everyone else. I think it's a little more difficult to contact your teacher and your peers on VHS because I know in my regular schoolwork I tend to talk a lot with my peers, and but I think it's a really good option because I think it definitely teaches independence. So.
How does it fit into everyone's schedule? So we have a 7 class schedule at Shepaug with 6 classes happen during the day. Where does it fall in everyone's schedule, and what does that look like when you're actually in your VHS class here at Shepaug?
I find the activities every week to be kind of lengthy. Basically every week you get an outline of what you have to do, and in my class on average there's about 8 activities that you have to complete, and mine are time consuming. I don't know if that's just because it's an AP level or if it is because it's like an online class and things take a little bit longer, but I've kind of learned, I've created a routine for myself where every week in my class we have like a reading activity, writing activity, listening activity, and speaking activity since it's a language, and I've sort of created this routine for myself where on specific days I do the reading one, specific days I do the writing one.
So you've set up a schedule for
Yeah,
yourself?
I've set up a schedule for myself, and I have like a checklist to like check off the activities that I've completed.
Does that happen just in school, or are you doing that outside of school as well?
I definitely have to do both. I can't complete everything inside school.
All right. John, how about for you?
Mine's basically the same, but my course is not an AP course, obviously, but my work is time consuming to an extent, and a lot of things I have to do throughout the entire week. It's
Mhm.
not just one thing and you get it done in one day, but most of my things is keeping track of like what I spend on my money, and I have to like keep track of that every single day and exactly what I do. But most of my work does get done outside of school just because it's a little more easier to focus outside of school for me.
Okay.
But
Mike?
Yeah, in my course, the amount of coursework in each week is different. It varies. So some weeks I'll have a short week where there's not a lot of work, or I'll have a lot of work or an ongoing project that spans over multiple weeks. But generally, I can finish it all during school, during
Okay.
a period. But at times, if I need extra help or if I'm having hard time with the curriculum, I can spend time after school to review it.
Sure.
I agree with Mike in the aspect of having shorter and longer weeks. I have weeks where I have 8 to 10 assignments, and I have weeks where I have 13 assignments. And we do have ongoing projects. Like, part of my class is to have an ongoing business that you're building.
Okay.
And but I really like that it's not just you end a week and you end an assignment. I like that your thoughts have the ability to like keep developing and keep progressing. I think that's a really good idea.
Mike, you mentioned something that I want to come back to, this idea of help, because I think, having a teacher that's not on site, that you're interacting with through the computer, there may be times that you need help, both to you and to the other students. Have there been people at Shepaug you've reached out to, or how do you go about solving problems that may not be the same as when you have a classroom teacher in front of you?
A great resource is fellow students in the class.
Okay.
Online, you can talk to them similarly as you could talk to other students in real school.
Mhm.
There's even sometimes they'll have like a Skype's group call, like a study group,
Yep.
which is really interesting, but it's kind of fun because there's people from all over the world, so the time zones are different, so everybody that's doing the group call to study.
And those are scheduled times when you're all together?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
great.
yeah, it's great. I like it a lot. It's it brings us closer together as a class, because
Right.
a lot of times when you're online and you're just typing, you don't hear people's voices, so you don't get a full picture of who they are.
Okay. Other suggestions people have used?
for me, for help, since I'm taking a business course, I have Miss Sanavasi, who is
Okay.
our business teacher. So if I do need help, I usually do go to her. But certain things she can't really help with just because she doesn't understand exactly what our teacher's teaching us.
Right.
So, but I
But she's
definitely
giving you some
have
insight.
used
Okay.
her a lot.
Well, since I'm taking Spanish, I was hoping that in order to help me prepare for the AP exam in a couple of weeks, I was thinking of asking either the Spanish teachers here at Shepaug if they could help me just like probably with my speaking the most, just like listen to me and give me suggestions on how to keep my pace flowing good for when I actually take the test.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any thought? Yeah.
I'm in the same scenario with the rest of the students. I am in conversation with Mr. Dennis a lot because he is the curator of the Model UN Club and whatnot, and he has a really strong interest in international relations, so he helps me with my class a lot.
Okay, so it sounds like a combination. Mike's using people that are in a virtual environment and also help here, and the rest of you used some people on site. You guys have offered some great insight into virtual high school for us. I think what I'd like you to think about at this point, final thoughts, recommendations to a student. So if you were going to recommend somebody else at Shepaug to take virtual high school, what would you tell them? And then, what would be the things that you'd either caution them on or suggest as strategies for success? And we'll just go down the line. Amber, if you'll start.
Well, actually, the thing that I would caution them most about actually has nothing to do with my specific class, but two of my good friends are in a computer science class, and they've had to learn a whole new software, and they found it really hard to learn a whole new software with teachers that in our school that aren't used to it. So I would suggest, looking into it before you take the class and trying to figure out if you can actually go into the class and how well you're going to do depending on your previous knowledge with a computer program. But I think overall my final thoughts on VHS would be that I think it's really important that we're incorporating online learning into high school, because when you get out into the workforce, you're going to use technology a lot, and I think it's important that we implement it. So.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mike?
Amber's point, very important to pick something that you're either passionate about or willing to learn.
Mhm.
There's a lot of independence, so you have to be ready to take that challenge on. As far as doing well in the course, as long as you work with the teachers, you work with the students, you can collaborate, you'll do well if you put the effort forth.
Great.
So I would recommend it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. Also, one thing I have learned very well is time management. That is a huge thing in virtual high school. You have exactly 1 week to complete all of your assignments, and time management has definitely come into play a lot, which actually has helped me in school. I'm much better off now that I have taken this course, so I would highly suggest taking a virtual high school course. It sounds a lot more difficult than it actually is at a point, but I definitely would suggest to a student that they should look into it.
Great.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone else has said. It definitely requires discipline, and it's really worth it because you're able to do something that you're actually really interested in, and you don't really. Maybe if history isn't really your thing, every day you have to go to history class, which kind of stinks. But then you have a class like, you have your VHS class that is something that you're definitely interested in. So, I recommend it.
Well, thank you all for your insights. This was a presentation on VHS, and from what we've heard from the students, great thoughts on VHS, and definitely the wave of the future in everyone's experience with education and with business as we move forward. So thanks for watching.